Its first COVID-19 cases in 5 days, another 2, bringing the total to 30. According to Chinese authorities, the total deaths and confirmed cases in China now exceeds 1,700 and 70,000 respectively. A busy week ahead for South Korea's National Assembly. Lawmakers are due to start their final provisional session before the April 15th general elections. We have the latest. Plus, Tottenham Hotspur's South Korean superstar Son Heung-min becomes the first Asian player to net 50 goals in the English Premier League with a brace against Aston Villa. We start with the news that South Korea has reported 2 other cases of COVID-19, bringing the nation's total to 30 now. The most recent 2 patients are an elderly couple who have not been abroad since December of last year. Our Kan Hyung-woo starts us off.
South Korea has reported its 30th coronavirus patient on Monday. She is the wife of Korea's 29th patient, who was confirmed on the previous day. These latest patients have not been overseas since December 2019. The 29th patient is 82 years old and is the oldest confirmed patient in Korea so far. The couple have been quarantined at Seoul National University Hospital. Korea University Annam Hospital has also closed its emergency room after South Korea's 29th patient tested positive for the virus there. As the country's first coronavirus cases since last Tuesday, the couple are believed to have had no contact with the previous 28 confirmed patients. The Korea Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is trying to figure out where and when the 2 patients could have been infected. Health authorities also plan to run the coronavirus test on all pneumonia patients at hospitals across the country. In other efforts to prevent the spread of the virus, South Korea's Ministry of Education said it will recommend that Chinese students at Korean universities take the spring semester off or take online classes in mainland China. Around 70,000 Chinese students attend universities in South Korea. Kan Arirang News.
South Korea is looking to bring back its nationals who are stuck on the Diamond Princess cruise ship that's docked off the Japanese port city of Yokohama.
The government has decided to push for a repatriation plan before February 19th if any of the South Koreans who test negative for the virus hope to come back home.
The 14 Koreans on the cruise ship, 9 passengers and 5 crew members, have been quarantined since February 3rd. As of Sunday, there were 355 confirmed cases of COVID-19 on the Diamond Princess, with about 3,700 passengers and crew members on board. Taiwan reported its first COVID-19 death on Sunday after a male taxi driver in his 60s died from the virus. That makes him just the 5th death outside of mainland China. The man was one of the 2 confirmed cases in Taiwan, with the other being a family member who lives with the male victim now. It's been reported he had no recent travel history. However, local reports say most of his customers were people who had a history of traveling to China, Hong Kong and Macau. And in news just in from Chinese state media on this Monday, the total deaths and confirmed cases of COVID-19 infections in China reportedly now exceeds 1,700 and 70,000 respectively. Hubei province reported 100 new deaths in one day alone, and 1,773 people are in critical condition. As the world struggles to contain COVID-19, new speculation is emerging from Chinese scientists who believe it may have originated at a research facility not far from the Wuhan fish market. While they say more research needs to be done to find solid proof, such labs are known to contain disease-ridden animals, including bats. Kim Hyo-sun tells us more.
Amid the continued spread of the COVID-19 virus, there's rising speculation the virus could have originated from a government laboratory in Wuhan rather than the widely held belief that it emerged from the city's Huanan seafood markets. Citing a report published by Chinese scientists, a Chinese-language newspaper published in Hong Kong, Mingpao, and the British daily The Mirror explained Sunday that the Wuhan Center for Disease Control, or WHCDC, could have spawned the contagion in Hubei province. According to the report penned by Bo Tao-xiao and Lei Xiao of the South China University of Technology, the research lab, which is only 280 meters away from the Huanan seafood market, kept disease-ridden animals, including more than 600 bats. It stated that while it's plausible the virus was leaked from the lab and contaminated initial patients in this epidemic, more solid evidence is required through future study. The report also raised a possibility that the Wuhan Institute of Virology could have leaked the virus while it was carrying out tests involving Chinese horseshoe bats. Against such a backdrop, an article published by the Washington Times late last month is garnering attention as it raised the possibility that the disastrous outbreak could be the accidental result of biological weapons research. This comes as a renowned law professor at Tsinghua University in Beijing, Xu Jiangren, is known to be missing after publicly condemning Chinese President Xi Jinping for failing to contain the spread of the virus at an early stage. He even added the condemnation could be the last message of his life. Kim Hyun-san, Arirang News.
President Moon Jae-in will be briefed on his administration's key economic policies for 2020 later today as the government aims to keep the recovery momentum going despite the threats posed by this outbreak. 4 ministries, including finance and trade, they will be laying out their policies, which will likely focus on minimizing the economic fallout, as well as strategies for innovative growth and fostering new growth engines. That will be followed by a town hall meeting with economic and industry experts. President Moon's schedule has recently been adjusted to reflect his desire to protect people's livelihoods and prop up the economy as sentiment has naturally soured as a result of this outbreak. Just last week, he visited a local market in Seoul and held a meeting with the country's top business tycoons. Now to local politics and a huge week ahead for South Korea's National Assembly. Lawmakers will begin their provisional session this afternoon, and it will be the last of its kind before the April 15th general elections. For 2 days, starting Tuesday, the floor negotiation group representative speeches will be held, and the 3-day interpellation session starts next week. And the Assembly is also gearing up for the upcoming general elections, now just less than 2 months away, with the party scrambling for votes. For the first time in 3 years, a joint Conservative bloc will be launched in the coming hours called the Party for Future Unification. An informal translation of the party's Korean name, the bloc, is a compound of a breakaway group from the minor Parliamentary party, the Onward for Future 4.0, and a bunch of independent lawmakers. Tottenham Hotspur's Son Heung-min might be in the hottest form of his English Premier League career right now after scoring in his 5th straight match for the London club. His double against Aston Villa on Sunday saw him become the first Asian player ever to score more than 50 goals in what is regarded as one of the toughest leagues in the entire world. Lee Seung-jae with the details.
Tottenham Hotspur's South Korean forward Son Heung-min is on fire, and there's little anyone can do to stop him finding the back of the net these days. With his London side taking on Aston Villa away from home at Villa Park, Son made it 5 straight scoring games by sliding the ball home right before the end of the first half, giving Tottenham the 2-1 lead going into the second 45. The goal gave him his 8th EPL goal of the season and his 50th overall goal in England's top flight. But with the match tied 2-2, the South Korean found the back of the net again in injury time, giving him his 2nd goal of the match and Tottenham the 3-2 victory. The game winner meant he now has 9 EPL goals this season and 16 in all competitions. Having joined Tottenham in 2015, Son has scored 51 goals in 151 EPL appearances, and has long been one of the most consistent players on the team. After starting the 2019-2020 season a bit slower than usual, Son continues to show that he's the best Asian player in the world after becoming the top Asian finisher in voting for the prestigious Ballon d'Or award in 2019. The captain of the South Korean men's national team came in 22nd place among 30 nominees in balloting for the annual award recognizing the world's best football player, as he was also the first Asian player to be nominated since Yunus Mahmoud of Iraq in 2007. 이승재, Arirang News.
Now to another South Korean sports star getting some more global success and attention. Park Inbee, the golfer, won the Women's Australian Open on Sunday, marking her 20th LPGA victory and her first title in nearly 2 years. The seven-time major champion finished 3 strokes ahead of America's Amy Olsen. Park Inbee is now the 28th golfer in LPGA history to top the 20-win plateau and just the second South Korean after Park Se-ri. With the win, Park Inbee is in a wonderful position to make the national female golf team for the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. South Korea's LG Chemical was assessed to be one of the world's fastest growing chemical companies, with its brand value standing at around $3.5 billion, according to an annual report by the UK-based Brand Finance on Monday. LG Chemical said its brand value jumped by 4.8% on year. The report noted that despite the sluggish global chemical industry, the South Korean company retained its profit within the petrochemical and chemical sector last year. Other major global chemical firms, however, they witnessed a noticeable drop in their brand values. Now, the multi-Oscar winning director of the South Korean film Parasite arrived home on Sunday to a triumphant welcome, wrapping up a marathon awards season that has taken him around the world and back, quite possibly. Bong Joon-ho said he's now looking forward to return to what he's best at doing, namely creating. Ji-young has this report.
A great cheer went up in Incheon International Airport's arrivals hall as Bong Joon-ho returned to home soil. Bong arrived in South Korea on Sunday afternoon, fresh from winning 4 Oscars at the 92nd Academy Awards for his black comedy thriller, Parasite. Greeted by a large crowd upon his arrival, Bong thanked fans for coming out despite the cold weather.
I'm sorry for your hard work since the Cannes Film Festival in May last year. I feel lighthearted to wrap up a long journey in the US. I'm happy to say I can now return to my main job, which is making movies.
He also said he would like to send a round of applause to all South Koreans who are working hard to combat the coronavirus outbreak. He added he'll join the efforts by washing his hands diligently. As well as throngs of TV cameras and reporters, many fans had made the trip to the airport to catch a glimpse of the high-decorated director.
I've lived in Korea for 10 years, so I was very proud that someone in this country had won an Oscar. That's really great.
When he won the Oscars, I felt very proud as a Korean. I believe he will achieve even greater things in the future.
Bong has a busy schedule ahead of him. He told the reporters that there'll be a press conference on Wednesday with the crew members and actresses of Parasite to share the stories behind the film's historic Oscar win. Bong has plans at the Blue House on Thursday as President Moon Jae-in invited him to a luncheon to personally congratulate him on his success. Ji-young, Arirang News.
Now, with the world's attention firmly focused on Parasite, people who've watched it might be wondering how the famous flooding scene was filmed. Well, it turns out an entire neighborhood was built in a large water tank to shoot it. Kim Bok-young reports.
The wealthy family in their large house high up on the hill can enjoy the rain, while Kitek's family who are living in a semi-basement apartment down below suffer all night as their home floods. This flooding scene in Parasite shows the clear divide between the rich and the poor. The scene was filmed in Goyang Aqua Studio. The film set for the semi-basement apartment and a neighborhood of 20 buildings was constructed in this large water tank. 50 tons of water was directed from the river nearby. The Goyang Aqua Studio is the only studio in the country that can film large underwater scenes. Naval battle scenes from other popular South Korean films were filmed here, including the 2014 hit The Admiral Roaring Currents, which tells the story of how Admiral Lee Sun-shin faced the Japanese armada with just 13 battleships.
This facility provides the infrastructure for film scenes that require special effects in water, such as explosions and underwater scenes in large blockbuster movies.
The semi-basement set of Parasite was pulled down after filming in 2018. But Goyang City is planning to work with the film's producers to restore the set this year. It will be part of a new visual culture complex that will be completed by 2026.
I'm certain that new complex will not only be used for filming, but will also boost tourism in Goyang City.
Jeonju City is also planning to restore the film set of the rich family's house from the Parasite movie after consulting with producers. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
Time now for our weekly Life and Info segment where we focus on information we do hope will be useful for your everyday life. Starting today, the South Korean government will receive compensation requests from people quarantined to prevent the spread of the novel coronavirus. The Health and Welfare Ministry says requests can be submitted through local administrative offices, and businesses that have given workers paid leave can apply through the National Pension Service. Compensation will be given to those who have been hospitalized or were in self-quarantine based on their family size and period of isolation. A person belonging to a 4-person family who has been quarantined for longer than 2 weeks will be paid $1,040. Employers will be paid based on their worker's salary with a daily limit of $110. Now, symptoms like coughing or fever can be mistaken for warning signs of the new coronavirus, but unless you've been in contact with a coronavirus patient, it's likely that you have the flu instead. Park Se-young with more.
The number of suspected flu cases each week in January exceeded 40 per 1,000 outpatients in Korea. This is nearly 6 times higher than when a flu warning was issued last November. The flu begins with a sudden high fever, and although the initial symptoms are worse than the new coronavirus, similar respiratory symptoms like coughing and runny nose make it difficult to tell the two apart. It's more accurate to see if there's a possibility of contact with a person diagnosed with coronavirus and review your recent travel history.
Going to the hospital to see if you have the new coronavirus may actually get you infected with it. It's difficult to know whether the situation is widespread in the community. If you have respiratory symptoms, avoid contact with people and stay home.
Unlike the new coronavirus, there are vaccines and medicines for the flu. Experts say flu patients with severe symptoms or underlying conditions should go to the hospital and get treated. And because the flu is easily spread, those with symptoms should refrain from going out and should avoid contact with people. Park Se-young, Arirang News.
Now, before we get to the weather, South Korea's Multicultural Center is looking to help foreign residents with their civil affairs. Starting today, the Happy Row Multicultural Center is operating a help center for multicultural families and foreign residents and provides translation services for those carrying out civil affairs from 10 a.m. to noon and then again from 2 to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. Translation services will be offered in Chinese, English, Japanese, Vietnamese, Filipino, and a range of other languages as well. For those of you looking to use the service can visit the Happy Row office in Seoul's Yeongdeung-po-gu district or visit the website for more details. You can find it by going to happyro.co.kr. I'm sorry, I thought we were going to go to the weather next, but it's world news, so let's do world news. Large parts of the UK have been battered by a really powerful storm yet again, and it's prompted hundreds of flood warnings and alerts across that country. For more on this and other news from around the world, let's turn to our Heung-min. Heung-min, tell us more.
So, Mark, another storm hit Britain over the weekend, causing transport disruption and hundreds of floods. This follows since Storm Ciara, which struck the country about a week ago. The storm caused major incidents, particularly in South Wales and parts of England. Local police has been dealing with multiple landslides and floods which trapped residents. On Sunday, a record number of some 600 flood warning and alerts were issued in England. Among them, 4 severe flood warnings were issued in England and 2 in Wales, which means a danger to life. The body of a man was recovered from the River Tau, but local police said his death was not because of the extreme weather. People are being evacuated in the affected regions.
Last night, the water boards, they was knocking on our door, move the cars. And we moved the car, and after then, just rapidly the water rised. And suddenly it's in a house.
Across the UK, roads, rail and air routes were closed. Some 170 flights were cancelled on Sunday, which affected about 25,000 passengers. Trains and highways were also closed. The storm also affected northwestern part of France. Nearly 14,000 homes were left without power in Bretagne because of strong winds. Reports say some Swiss former ministers had connections with the Switzerland-based encryption company that allegedly helped the CIA and Germany's BND crack the secrets of other countries. Swiss papers report there are indications former Justice Minister Arnold Koller was aware of federal police investigations into the company in the 1990s. The ex-minister is also said to have known that former Defense Minister Caspar Villiger was contacting a member of the crypto board. Villiger, however, has denied the accusations. The paper said there are also indications 2 other ex-ministers were informed of the matter. British pop star Elton John has cut short a concert in New Zealand after he was diagnosed with walking pneumonia on Sunday while on tour. The 72-year-old lost his voice and broke down in tears on stage while he was performing at a stadium in Auckland. He later posted about his illness to his social media, telling his fans that he was deeply upset and sorry for cutting short the concert. While thanking his fans, he added he was determined to give the best show possible. Elton John is currently on what he says his final world tour, known as Farewell Yellow Brick Road.
Good morning. It felt like a very warm spring on Saturday, but now we're back to winter again with snow pretty much everywhere. In fact, cold wave advisories have been issued for parts of Gangwon-do and Gyeonggi-do provinces, while heavy snow advisories have been issued for many parts of western regions, including Jeju Island. In fact, those of us in western regions will receive more snowfall today. And so far, Seoul has received over 5 centimeters of snow. But the capital region will see the snow melting away from this afternoon. But Jeollado and Jeju are expecting to see snow through tomorrow dawn, so please drive carefully. Roads could remain slippery even in the afternoon. Readings will remain below freezing all day here in the capital. And actually, the cold snap will hit its peak tomorrow morning at -8 degrees Celsius here in the capital. Then temperatures will ease from tomorrow afternoon. Stay bundled. It's going to feel much colder than mid-February, and it's going to feel colder than actual temperatures. That's Korea for you, and here's the international weather for viewers around the world.
Well, that's all the news and weather we have for now on this Monday morning here in Seoul, South Korea. We hope your week is off to a good start. Stay tuned to Arirang TV, and a reminder that our next newscast is coming up at noon Korea time in around an hour and a half from now. So until then, goodbye.